And good day to you, and welcome to In the Know. Willard Shepard with Willard Shepard Law and Media. And we have one of our public servants who has been protecting us for a very long time, and who I used to have more communication with, but it's great to reconnect with you. Major John Barrow, Miami-Dade County Police Department, and a candidate for the sheriff, which is coming back after the 1960s. I think 1966 was the last time we had the sheriff here in Miami-Dade County. And John, great to reconnect with you through your dad on a great circumstance that transpired with us. And you've decided to go out into this political world for this position that is coming back to our county. Why?
Well, thank you for having me, Willard. It is good to reconnect, too. This is a very important and a very historic race. I have been serving our community and serving this county for the past 17 years, rising through the ranks, born and raised right here in Miami, grew up in Carroll City. And in order to ensure that Miami-Dade remains a safe place for us and our visitors and our businesses, I decided to enter this race because I care for this department, this agency, our personnel, and I care for the community. So that's why I decided to enter.
I always say, and I grew up in the city, in the Midwest, and I remember as a little boy, my mother and I coming home and hearing somebody in our house and dropping the television and being victims of crime. That I always say in our neighborhoods where people live, where they can be the most victims of crime, that's where we need the best policing. I know that you've had experiences younger in your life about that. Tell us about that, and tell us how that impacted how you ended up deciding to service in this fashion in the first place.
Yes, growing up in Carroll City, we were in our neighborhood. We all knew each other. The neighbors knew each other. Me and my sisters riding bikes in front of the house. It was a community, and unfortunately, we were victims of crime. Our neighbors were. My parents had their cars stolen multiple times. The neighbor's house broken into a few times. There was a house down the street that was being rented, and when the renters were selling drugs out of the house. And we, the people that lived in that community, we didn't want that crime. We wanted a safe neighborhood. And I know that is common in all of the communities in Miami-Dade County. We all want a safe place to live. And I know when we were victims of crime, when I was a child, and it was Metro at the time, Miami-Dade police in their brown uniforms showed up, I felt like our problems are going to be taken care of. I felt safe, and I felt like it was, this was something that stuck with me from a child. So I went off to college, got my degree, and came back to serve this community. I've been doing it ever since because, it's very important to ensure a safe community for everyone.
Speaking of your journey, and I spoke a little bit about this. I know where Oberlin College is. I actually been on the campus multiple times. I won't tell you what I was doing on the campus, but that was a while ago. So tell me how you ended up at Oberlin and how that education at an incredible school in the Midwest has framed you, shaped you, and it helped apply from an academic perspective and from a management perspective to what you're doing now.
Yes. So myself and my three sisters, we were all educated here in Miami-Dade County. I went to Mast Academy for high school, and my parents, who came from Barbados, we're first-generation American. They were immigrants to give us a better life here in the United States. And they always stressed the importance of education. They said, with an education, you can be and do whatever you want to be, but, get your education. Actually, even in middle school and high school, they gave us extra homework at home. We had our assignments. When we finished, okay, go to the table, and we're going to do some times tables, some more education. So I knew all of my sisters went to college, and I knew I'm the youngest, so I knew I had to go to college. That was very important to me. And so in around sophomore, junior year of high school at Mast Academy, I said, where am I going to go? Because, two of my sisters went to FSU, and another went to New York. But I was used to a small school education. My middle school graduating class was 9 students, and in the entire grade year. Mast Academy had about 500 kids in the entire senior high. My graduating class was 91 students. So I was looking for that small college, but also really great in education and schooling. And it's funny, very funny, because I guess guidance counselors they do have a job for a reason. Because I was like, I don't want to go to FSU. That's I don't want to go to a school where there's 20,000 students. I want a small school, and I was looking for a liberal arts education. And they gave me some packets of information, different liberal arts colleges in the Northeast and in the Midwest. And my father and I went a college tour, and once I got to Oberlin, I knew that's where it was going to be. I spent a week there. They put you in the dorms with another student that guides you around. You go to the classes, and that's why I decided to go to Oberlin. And additionally, because it has a great music program, which is not only does it have a great liberal arts college, but it has a conservatory of music, so you get the best of both worlds. And I entered the conservatory of music, and so
because you were a church musician as well.
Yes, I am. Started the piano back when I was 6. I started the pipe organ when I was 6th grade, middle school, and it just kept getting better and better and better. So much so that the lady who taught me organ lessons, Ruth Tenhoven, told me I had outgrown her. I needed to find another teacher, and I did, and got my audition music ready. I auditioned to Oberlin Conservatory for pipe organ, and was accepted, and that was it. The rest.
That freshman year, did you realize how cold it is in January in the state of Ohio?
Yes, indeed. I mean, I think we were doing the college tour around December. Must have been December or January, my father and I. And when we got to New York State, it was snowing. So I was like, oh, this is not Florida. But that's something I wanted. I wanted something. I grew up here in Miami, and I wanted something different. I wanted a small town feeling. And I wanted all 4 seasons to, experience what that is. I've seen it, and Oberlin, 10 miles south of Lake Erie, has all 4 seasons. But it's like the opposite of Miami, because winter lasts most of the year.
Lots of lake effect snow.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
In August, it was already in the low 60s at night. So
tell me how, from your experiences that you've had really living in kind of these 2 worlds, that you try to bridge what happens in our communities. I still say, unfortunately, to this day, the people in a community, they know who the criminals are, okay? But there's still a gap in the ability to share that with those of you protecting us. Some due to fear, some due to not understanding your role and your mission. And how do we bridge that gap? Because that's still a challenge, and especially in some of the neighborhoods that you've been responsible for overseeing our police officers.
Yes, absolutely. I believe the way to bridge the gap is collaboration and community policing. I started Miami-Dade Police Department, as we all do, academy, rookie, out on the streets. I was sent to hammocks first, and then my first special assignment is I applied for and was accepted to be a neighborhood police officer in our community service. I was assigned to Goulds and West Perrine, and then we had a little bit of Naranja, but I was the Goulds community service officer. And from that perspective, I learned that it's communication and collaboration and working with the community is the only way to solve our problems and to also find the criminals, because like I said, we don't want criminals in our neighborhood. Neither do the people that live in Goulds or Richmond Heights or any community in Miami-Dade County. And I think the hallmark is when I learned, that's when I think I learned foundational police work there, as I gave people my phone number. They had my actual cell number, and they would call me because, if there was like one instance, there was a robbery that occurred on 216th Street. And someone called my cell phone, hey, I just saw this robbery, and the person that did the robbery ran into this house, and I got myself and my 2 other officers on my squad, my 2 backup units, and we started heading that way. I was like, okay, absolutely, we're gonna solve your problem. And while we were heading that way, the 911 call went out, and all over the radio, the beep tone, emergency tone, it was an armed robbery had just occurred. But I had already known because of that community service, because of working with the community, giving people my cell, being able to talk directly to the people that live in that neighborhood. So they felt confidence in me and trust in me to trust me with that information, and to trust that their information wouldn't be given out, and so we were able to catch that subject. And I caught a lot of robbery subjects in my time down in my community service, and that's because of the connections I made with the community and talking directly to them, and them knowing if they talk to John Barrow, there's gonna be trust there, and their problem will be solved.
Do we actually have enough police officers to be able to say, hey, look, I want everybody on every block to know who their police officer is? Hey, that's Officer John when you first started out, and they see him walking by and he knows where the businesses are, he or she, knows where the businesses are and knows who lives wherever. And that eye is like, I've never seen that person before. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And also, that person normally closes their business at this hour, but that's not going on today. Let me check to make sure everything's okay. Can we still do that?
Well, I'm glad you brought that topic up, because that's one of my main initiatives. The day one as sheriff that I want to institute is to ensure building deep trust with the community. And I think we do have enough officers, but I think we need to look at all of our resources and where they're placed. We have 25 specialized units. Even more have been created in the past few years, and I would like to take a good look at all the units and which ones are achieving their goals and which ones can be reevaluated and redistributed to our road patrol, because the foundation of any police agency is that uniform patrol. When you call 911, someone's going to be there. And I think we need more cops on the streets. I think we have enough, but it's just being able to ensure that our uniform patrol services are fully staffed, or at staffed to the levels that they should be. And that way, officers sometimes spend years, at least, the shift change, but sometimes multiple shifts in the same area, in their work week, driving through the same communities. And it would be great if they can learn, who actually lives in their communities, the businesses that are in their communities. But currently, sometimes we are, we're going call to call. There are calls holding on the screen, and we have to get to these calls. So we may not have the time to get out of our cars and meet our residents and meet the businesses in that area. So if we have more officers in uniform patrol, we can have more time for those officers to have time, downtime, where they can, every officer should be a community service officer, so where they can get out of their car, meet their meet the residents, and meet the business owners that live there.
So you're talking about potential reallocation of some resources. Like I went to police dive school. Mike Gass, you remember Mike Gass? He taught me to go out there, man. And I used to go with the port team and the Marine team to go do those types of things. So what you're talking about, not just them, I just use that as an example, but overall, when you have people who have a specialized skill, my other buddies in the aviation units and those types of things, to look and see, hey, can we take some of these resources? We certainly want to keep those specialties because you need those, but maybe there's a way to put more man and woman power actually back on, quote, patrol, which would give them the ability to handle fewer calls per day to get to know more about their community.
Exactly, yes. And those units that you mentioned, divers and aviation, those are critically important. And, so our investigators and our specialized units, especially our tactical units, those are doing a critical function. There are some other units that may not be a critical function to police work, and yes, we can reallocate resources to our communities so that there will be more officers in our community, hence creating a safer community and giving the officers more time in their shift instead of just jumping from call to call to call.
In this big picture responsibility of sheriff, if you had the opportunity, what about an allocation of resources? We've heard about over the last couple of years, and I will ask you directly, what percentage of our law enforcement officers are actually doing police work and not social work? And a big chunk of the time, it appears to me, and from listening to residents and officers who, and many I'm very close to, that it's not actually law enforcement functions they're performing, but on a call, that it's actually they need a social worker and a psychologist to arrive at that home, not a law enforcement officer.
That is a good question. What I've sometimes said that and truthfully, the police cannot solve every issue in the community. This police cannot be the end all for everything. We need other NGOs, non-governmental organizations, foundations, organizations in the community trying to do a good job, other county departments and resources, government resources, state, local. Everyone needs to come in to help the issues that are there. Police should be able to focus on police work. Of course, when you go to a call, you have to realize what's there, what's happening, and then sometimes allocate, find the resources, special resources for the family. That is, obviously a foundation of police work, like I did in community policing, which is why it's called the neighborhood resource unit, because we find the resources that family would need. But it's not police resources. We will connect to other county agencies, other organizations that were in the work of raising the quality of life. But also throughout my career, what I've noticed is that another large issue that is our cops are responding to daily are mental health crisis calls, as well as homelessness issues. I mean, when I was the mayor of Northside, mayor of Hammocks, those were very large issues that the community was bringing forward to me. And also substance abuse, which affects, so these three affect almost every family: homelessness, mental health, and substance abuse. And what I would like to do is work with a local behavioral health network and, through resource sharing, have that behavioral health network hire more staff, and those can be the staff that respond to these nonviolent mental health calls, nonviolent homelessness calls, and substance abuse, because I think we do need a larger aspect of folks who have the training and can also look into the computer system and see what someone was diagnosed with, see what medications they've been on, give these people, these vulnerable communities, better resources, and then the officers can focus on handling crime and public safety, and it would make the whole community safer. That's what I say, I keep saying safer and stronger. The stronger part is the unity in the community through all organizations, through nonprofits, through everyone who's trying to do the work to make Miami-Dade a better and safer place.
There are more guns in this country than there are people breathing. So within your parameters of the jurisdiction, if you're elected to this office, what ideas do you have to try to get some of these weapons off the street within the power that you would have at that point?
Yeah, that's all. To me, it's all hands on deck method. There's not just one solution, it's multiple solutions, and it takes the gamut, running the gamut. That's something I did as mayor of Northside. We had Liberty City, Brownsville, these historic communities, and they did not want gun violence in their communities or the shootings. And so every single officer that worked in Northside, the mission was to lower the shootings, to stop the shootings, to get guns off the street, illegal guns out of the hands of criminals. That was my mission. So if you're uniform patrol, your marked units, I took some and in analyzing where the shootings had occurred, maybe the previous week, the previous month, the areas where the most shootings were occurring, I positioned marked units in those neighborhoods to deter any more shootings from occurring. So line patrol, up and down certain avenues and streets. Then the neighborhood resource unit, the community service officers, if a shooting occurred, would go to that area the next business day, knock on the doors and talk to the residents. Hey, have you seen anything? Because the night of, they're like we were just saying, like it's that trust. They might not want to say anything because of fear. But if the community resource officers are going out and giving them the tip line as well, like you don't have to tell me, you can call a non-emergency, you can call the tip line, and going to all the houses in that area. We generated some good tips that way. And then we have our investigators, the General Investigations Unit. So we have the team that tries to find who the shooter is. This is reactive, it's investigations, but it's reactive. But then we also had proactive investigators who are trying to develop leads in the community, trying to develop, criminal informants who will identify the players that are creating the shootings, where the guns are coming from, for the gangs and groups that are running violence and creating hay in these neighborhoods, trying to identify who those members are, who the players are, who they're beefing with. And so the entire district was in the service of trying to get the shootings down and trying to get guns off the street. And we did. The year I was there, shootings dropped 23% year over year from the year previous, and so that's what I would do as sheriff for the whole department. You can't take your foot off the gas. It is an entire agency has to work to get these guns off the street, and and develop that trust with the community, but also developing intelligence to figure out where the guns are coming from, who has them, and how we're gonna get them off the streets.
During your time on the department, we've done this transition from no body cameras to body cameras. And a lot of people, some people, I don't want it. Some officers, no, I don't want it. But my big picture about the body cameras is I always think more information is better, number one. And number two, it's helped the community because the community is able to see exactly what transpires, and we can hold our officers accountable when we need to. And on the officer side, the number of complaints about them has been reduced because people know they're on camera, and the number that are sustained has also been reduced. So with this implementation, what do you think, and what are your thoughts about using not just that type of technology, but other things to be able to be transparent to our community and have our department be efficient?
And that is the word, transparency. I believe in that in order to build and maintain deep community trust, which we're going to need with our residents in all of the communities in Miami-Dade County. We need transparency, and the body cameras have helped us more than anything. While they don't give a 100% view of everything the officer have seen or felt, or they have helped by giving the public an opportunity to see what that officer has gone through or what the situation was. Like you said, they have reduced complaints. They have also been able, because we're able to release body camera video if there was a shooting and then folks are starting to question, we can, well, here's the videos from the body camera, and it really helps people understand, and it lowers the heat. And so body cameras are a very good thing, and something I believe in and what we'll implement as sheriff is greater use of technology and innovation within the department. There are many technologies that are developing every day and that we can also use, such as, there's store owners, there are shop owners, business owners, and I believe coming into agreement with them to be able to use their cameras inside the stores or cameras inside neighborhoods where there is higher crime. When I was in Gould's, in Arthur Mays Villas, the public housing installed cameras there as well. So so we were able to look in those cameras in case a shooting happened. We can see what happened in the common areas, who was running through. And actually, it is one of those catchwords now, but AI is here. And by using our real-time crime center, which we have, and being able to monitor a lot of cameras at once, and an AI tool can help us also solve some of these crimes and know when a crime is occurring as well.
Do you have a fear, because it's one of mine, and I've seen it, especially in one example, whereby because of all of the body cameras and the surveillance cameras and all of these types of things, that what I'm going to call old school Dick Tracy police work, that's not being done as much, and that those kinds of forensic things that you would have done on your very first day on the job, I worry that that's being lost. And is that a concern of yours?
Thankfully, I know the personnel in this department. I've worked here 17 years. I've worked every corner of the county, every community. Also realize every community has unique challenges that need unique solutions, that you have to work with the community to find those solutions. But knowing our personnel the way I do, I know we have some excellent officers, some excellent investigators on our agency who put in the work, who still have to solve a case and solve a crime. Cameras surveillance cameras or body cameras, they're not the be all end all. They only tell a half story. So it still takes hitting the ground and asking questions, developing leads, and working those leads in order to close cases. So on that style of police work, I don't think will ever go away, because computers can't solve everything. Human beings are the ones that are behind the job.
Just one tool in the toolbox,
Yes,
and
indeed.
in the toolkit. As you go forward down this particular road, unfortunately, it doesn't matter what profession it is, whether it's lawyers, journalists, people that are in whatever business that they are. Out of 100, you're going to have a couple of people that don't do the right thing. So how do you, or would you as sheriff, address that when people do have complaints, they come forward, and that our officers do need to be held accountable? On the one hand, they deserve all their due process rights. They deserve whatever is the existing language in the union contract, but they also have a responsibility to the community. And how do you balance those to make sure that the community feels like that these officers who have had a situation come forward, that they actually have a process that's fair to everybody to be held accountable?
Yes, again, the badge we wear, the badge I wear, I think no one in the agency wants that badge to be tarnished. And one of the greater advantages of having an independent sheriff is that the buck stops there. So if someone has tarnished the badge, if it is found that they have violated policy, or even worse, violated the law, I as sheriff will have to terminate that person to uphold our integrity and uphold our trust with the community. However, officers do have all of their rights, their union contracts, and the Florida Officers Bill of Rights and due process, and we're going to have to ensure that the complaint, if there is a complaint made, that is fully investigated to the full extent that we can. And when the facts point to someone violating that trust of the community, then that person will have to be removed. But if the facts point to that's not occurring, then we are able to tell that to the public and say, no, our officers were fully within their rights. And so this complaint is basically frivolous, because sometimes police work, I know people say it, but sometimes police work is not pretty. There are many things that we have to do and account for, split-second decisions. So sometimes from seeing it, people may have one opinion, but through a full and fair investigation, we can tell the facts of the case and say, well, this is what had to happen.
I always encourage people, especially in the general public, to be patient when these happen. But patience in some of those circumstances is easier asked for than gained, especially when you have a loved one that is involved in that. We have about 2.5 minutes left. And you and I had this conversation briefly on the phone. I asked you, why do you want to go do this? In the sense of you're entering yourself now as one of the unusual people coming forward who's been a law enforcement officer and not a politician. And a part of this, even sitting here speaking with me, is part of this political process. What are your thoughts about embracing that, and why you want to put yourself in this arena and, frankly, subject yourself to certain things that you know are coming over the next 10 months?
Yes, this is too important. This is too important to not enter, and that's why I entered it. Yes, I've been a public servant my whole life. I was focused on police work and focused on solving crimes, quality of life issues for the community. I wasn't out rubbing elbows or glad handing. I was doing my job. But the voters of the state of Florida decided that this is going to be an independent office, and looking at it, I couldn't see who was going to take us in the future in the direction we needed to go, and it was too important for me to leave up to chance. So I entered because this is something that I truly believe in, and it is a 100% to my core that I care. It's not just for the power of the office or the power of the purse. It's because I care, and I think we need folks who do care, elected officials that care about the community and want the best for everyone here in Miami-Dade County.
Well, thank you for your long 17 years of service. I would say people don't think a lot about our firefighters and our police officers until you need one. And therefore, thank you very much for being there for a long time period in this. And in your journey, we're glad to find out so much more about you. And I'm sure you're going to be back here on In the Know. And Ben will make sure of that over the next 10 months as you move forward through this political process. The best to you. Thank you very much. And thanks again for your service to our community a long time. And we always feel safe when you guys are around. Perfect. All right, we're going to see you in the know soon, again, here on Miami Community News.